ever since I was a little girl, I loved to travel. The further I could get from home, the better. So whether that was going to school about 3.5 to 4 hours away from home, or studying abroad in Australia where I camped out in the outback under the stars and fought off the giant wolf spiders, I just loved to travel. And one of the closest but furthest places I ever traveled was the summer camp I worked at during college, which was Trip Lake Camp in Maine. And even though it was 15 minutes from my house, which wasn't a travel at all, I was in a whole different world. Our camp set on its own lake, it set on its own land, and lights went out at 9 p.m. and the electricity was fully turned off. Cell phones had to live in the counselor lounge, and the best part was the staff was from all over the world. So I'm not sure if you are all familiar with how summer camps kind of work, but there are lots of programs like Camp America, Camp Counselor USA that goes across the world to find people, and kids like I was, to come and staff these camps. They give them the offer of a J1 visa, which means they come here for the summer in exchange for the American experience. So this camp was literally its whole entire new world. You had all of these cultures coming together, people from just all over. That combined with the isolation and being away from the real world made it its own magical place. So while I was at this beautiful camp working as a swim counselor, I met a boy. His name was Ronan, and we became the absolute best of friends, and we were inseparable our entire 7 weeks we were at camp. Sometimes that inseparableness turns then into a relationship, and we decided to do the foolish thing and start dating, even though he was from Galway, Ireland, and I was from a tiny town in Nowheresville, Maine. So we decided to start dating, and we spent these awesome 7 weeks together. And unlike Danny and Sandy from Greece, our summer nights, we decided to continue throughout the year and date long distance. So he went back to Ireland and started up his third year of college. I went back and started to Vermont and started my third year of college, and we just kept dating. And for us, being in this long-distance relationship was no big deal. When you're in college, you have guaranteed breaks. You know you're going to be off for a little over a month in the winter. You're going to have weeks off here and there, and then you're going to have the whole summer off. So for us, it was no big deal. We were going to see each other. We then decided to make adventures out of it. If he came to visit me at school, then it was adventures throughout New England, camping and hiking, Camel's Hump, and just experiencing everything. And if I was going over there, we were country hopping, obviously, because it's Europe. What else do you do? So we were going to places like Paris with Airbnbs we rented with views of the Eiffel Tower, or, pseudo backpacking, as we like to call it, through the Netherlands, just experiencing life together and living these adventures. So then, as we're getting to the end of college, comes the decision of, well, what do we do now? To which I said, do you want to come to America? And he said, sure, let's move to Raleigh. So he got a graduate visa, and we packed up my car. I picked him up at Logan Airport in Boston. My little tiny Nissan Juke was full of suitcases and duffel bags. There was a kayak strapped to the top, and we started driving all the way down to Raleigh, North Carolina. And we were these young, dumb, and broke kids straight out of college who had maybe $2,000 to our name in total. We got our first awful apartment. We experienced everything. We ate mac and cheese for dinner and ramen every night because you can get that for like 25 cents. And we just started this amazing, quirky life together. The unfortunate thing was, this was back in 2017, our political climate was a little bit different, and he wasn't able to find a job when he got here. Even though he's a biomedical engineer, he didn't have enough experience. People just weren't offering H-1 visas, so he had to go back to Ireland, and I was stuck here. I had gotten the job. I had signed the year-long lease, and for the first time in my life, I was alone. I wasn't with friends. I wasn't in a dorm room with a roommate. I wasn't 15 miles from my family. I was fully alone. And for a while, that was really hard. And learning how to be alone is a whole process in itself, and figuring out who you are on your own is very different. But Rona and I stayed together, and we decided, you know what, we're just going to keep our adventures. So when you're an adult, you get to have, your 2 weeks paid time off. So we then started using our 2 weeks paid time off to go see each other. So the adventures started again. If he would come here, we would go out to the mountains for a week, camp. If I went over there, we would find different things to do in Ireland. And this was coming to this huge pinnacle. We had been invited to go on a 3-week-long whitewater rafting trip in the Grand Canyon, which, for all my outdoorsy people in the room, that is like the mecca of outdoorsy trips. So for us, we were like, let's do it. Let's get all our gear together. We were so excited. And we were meant to leave for the Grand Canyon on March 14th of 2020. As you all know, that was the day the world stopped. And we're slowly picking back up. So for us, we kind of went, it wasn't meant to happen. It's okay. No big deal. And the repetitive thing we kept saying to each other was, this is only going to last a couple weeks. We'll start planning another trip. Let's go somewhere in May. May came and went, and borders were shut down, and then it was, okay, well, maybe this summer we'll do something. Summer came and went. The borders remained closed here in America. So after a while and some super secret sleuthing, I learned that I could get into Ireland. So last September, we booked an Airbnb. I wore 7 layers of masks on the airplane, and I made it to Ireland, which was amazing. We had this fantastic quarantine for 2 weeks out in the middle of nowhere. It was a completely different adventure than we'd ever experienced. It was working together during the day, and then at night getting to sit on the farm. We were in this little itty-bitty trailer on this farmland and listen to the cows and the sheep and just the silence. So for us who are normally go, 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 do every adventure, we slowed it down and we experienced it. And we took in every single little thing we could. So this beautiful vacation, we kind of called it, even though we worked most of the time, was just different from what we'd ever done, but it was just so worth it. And then I came back, and again, it was just learning to be on my own again. And we're about 17 months into the U.S. borders being closed. And he hasn't been to America since then. He hasn't seen my family. He hasn't done anything here. So for me, this whole journey of this whole 6 years, I've learned I don't want to travel anymore. I want to be at home. I want to be at home with him, and I want to slow down, and I just want to take things easy.